All right, we're back. Here I am again with my son Connor, and now I have my other son Ethan in the
What's
background.
up, guys?
All right. So we're going to finish up talking a little bit about Milgram's study from the previous video, and here we are talking about individual resistance. Okay, a third of the individuals in Milgram's study resisted social coercion, meaning that they resisted his efforts to try to get them to shock the people in the study. And that does show that at least 1/3 of the people resisted. How were they able to do it? Okay, and of course the question comes in: there are people who will, they are the minority, but there always seems to be people who are willing to stand up against great tyranny, and despite possible personal loss of life, they might die, or having problems, they will stand against those who oppose them, who oppress them. And here, Tiananmen Square is a famous moment. I was in college and I actually watched it on television. The protesters in China, there was a protest in China in Tiananmen Square. It was a great big huge square in the middle of the Beijing, and the students were demanding more freedoms. They were tired of the oppressive government, and they were doing sort of a gigantic sit-in.
I agree.
And basically the Chinese government didn't like it, so they sent tanks in to clear everybody out.
Whoa.
And you can see this guy on the screen. He just walks out in front of this column of tanks, just by himself with a briefcase, white shirt, black pants, and these tanks stop. He stops a whole column of tanks because these are his countrymen, and they don't want to run him over. They try to go around him, and he keeps moving in front of the tanks. And so it's a really interesting example of individual resistance, where he is sort of showing the world that one man will stand up against the Chinese army, Chinese government. However, unfortunately, he was arrested after this picture was taken, and no one's real sure what happened to him. There's a lot of different rumors, but of course, he took a chance by standing up for what he believed in, and he may have lost his life. All right, moving on. All right, now we're going to talk about group influence, and basically, how does a group influence the individuals in it? How do groups affect our behavior? Social psychologists study various groups. One person affecting another, so us just sitting here together could affect each other.
Absolutely.
Okay, you sound very profound there. Good. Families can affect one another, so I'm sure you guys can all relate to someone in your family can push your buttons just a way that nobody else can. Okay,
Wow.
So that
Like
will
brothers and sisters.
Brothers and sisters, as
Mostly
well as
brothers. Mostly brothers.
okay, but within families, there's also certain standards that you are supposed to conform by, and you feel that pressure. And of course, on teams, if anyone's ever joined a team, there's certain ways you're supposed to act. For instance, you act a lot differently if you join a golf team versus if you join a football team.
Absolutely.
Okay, the expectations for the athlete are totally different, and what the public expects is totally different.
The points are different. The sport is different.
Yeah. And committees, of course, none of you have probably been on very many committees, but you'll learn. That's not fun. All right, individual behavior in the presence of others. There's something called social facilitation. It refers to improved performance on tasks in the presence of others. Basically put, social facilitation has to do with, for some reason, some of us just perform better when the lights are on. You have, one of the things in the coaching world, you always have them say, hey, that guy can't practice well. I don't like the way that guy practices. He doesn't work hard, or she doesn't work hard. Then all of a sudden it's Friday night or some game night, and the lights come on, and the kid is an all-world player, and just they like having that extra audience or the audience there, and it makes them perform better. Okay, and the example was, and I think this is, the bicyclists as well. That's why when you see the Olympics, nobody does those, like we don't run sprints by ourselves. You see, there's always like 8, or I don't know how big a track is, 8 or 10 wide, because when people are pitted against each other, they tend to do better. Social loafing, another interesting phenomenon. The tendency of an individual in a group to exert less effort toward attaining a common goal than when tested individually. Social loafing, exact reason why I hate group projects and why I don't tend to do a lot of them, because I have experienced it myself. I'm sure all of you have experienced social loafing where You just have somebody who's just hanging on and not doing their part, and they'll take whatever grade you'll help them get. Okay, and it's a psychological phenomenon, and it's not like an evil thing. It just is. There's people who will do that. There's always social loafing. Okay,
Some people just do better on their own. A lot.
sometimes.
And my dad here prefers not to have people work together. So make sure you work together.
Okay, I'm going to move on. All right, de-individuation. The loss of self-awareness and self-restraint in group situations that foster arousal and anonymity. Okay, de-individuation is a really interesting phenomenon. Mob behavior is a perfect example. When suddenly there's the world kind of goes upside down. Law and order are gone. This happened in Katrina, the hurricane, and it's happened in many other places. What?
2005 was Hurricane Katrina. It was Category 5, wasn't it?
Yes.
Thought so.
What happened was when people see a mob forming, for some reason it tends to make, because we become part of the group, part of the mob, we sort of lose our own identity. We sort of, maybe we have a moral compass that would say, normally I'm not going to go into a store and loot it. I just can't believe anybody would do that. But you actually have people who are good citizens and would never do that on their own. They will suddenly do these things. And what's funny is the next day when everything's calmed down and they're all, they've gotten their wits about them again, it's not uncommon to have a bunch of people bringing back televisions and electronics equipment and clothes that they stole the day before because they realized that's just not who they are, but they got caught up in the moment. Okay. Another example would be the way you guys, I don't think most of you really are into fighting. I don't see that with my AP students. But you all know when someone says fight and screams it, and then all of a sudden in the lunchroom, everybody's head turns, and you guys kind of go bananas. People jumping over desks and each other to go see a fight, when most of you don't even want to have anything to do with fights.
Whoa.
But it's just the de-individuation of the moment sort of overwhelms you, and many of you have probably, or I have, walked away going, why did I do that? I don't normally get that excited over two people I don't know fighting. So. Okay.
It's called high school, guys, not WWE.
All right, so we're going to end that here for now. Thank you very much.